It's Momming on the Daily with
Ellie
and Marina. Hope you're having a great Monday.
Motivational Monday. We're here.
We're here for sure.
We are. I'm having my dinner.
I'm having my ginger tea.
You're having ginger tea. I'm having lemon water.
There you go. And I have over here San Pellegrino citrus.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. One of my favorites. Because I don't drink soda. So it's like when I want something bubbly. Hi, Dash. Hi, Dash.
Hi. Okay.
Looks like you still have Christmas lights on outside your window.
No.
It's snowing here.
Oh my gosh. Don't tell my kids, they would love that.
Yeah, but it's not going to amount to anything. So, what are we talking about tonight?
Right. Is changing a word can change a day, your outlook on something, the way we do something. So, for example, a girlfriend of mine is dealing with cancer, and
Yikes.
she's like, and so it's pretty serious. She has stage 4 breast cancer. She's doing great. I have to say it's interesting. I'm learning a lot from her. And a lot of people think it's like immediately like a death sentence. And for her, it hasn't been. And I've been learning a lot from her about how it works. They don't tell you how long you're going to live, but they'll tell you like she's on this new medication. And they'll say this medication should last 17 months. And for her, the last one she was on, it was supposed to last 17 months. It worked 11 months, which is okay. They're like, okay, this one stopped working for you. Now we're going to move you over to this one. And this one will last for, 18 months. Maybe it will last 18 months. Maybe it will last 20 months. Maybe it will last 10 months. They don't know. But what they do, they keep having a new medicine that builds on top of the other one. And she got some scans done, and a lot of the tumors are gone. So that was good. And so it's interesting. But so as these drugs are being developed, and you keep getting another year or more time, and being that technology keeps advancing. So it's been really interesting. So she has certain stresses in her life, and so I was like, okay, we're not calling it stress, because whenever we hear stress, I think we all kind of, it makes you more stressed. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm stressed. I'm so stressed.
It's almost like misery likes company. When somebody's miserable and you call somebody else and you jump on the bandwagon, it just snowballs.
Exactly. So she was talking to me, like, we're talking about, I'm like, okay, so that's an obstacle we have to get over. I'm like, it's not a stress. It's an obstacle. And, let's figure out the best way to get over that obstacle. And she's like, you're right. I go, because when you say stress, it kind of goes through you. We've been programmed that stress is going to make everything horrible and blah, blah, blah. But if we call it an obstacle, then we just need to get over that obstacle, and then we can keep moving forward. I'm not saying it's not going to be a little difficult. We have to figure out different ways of doing it, but it would make a big difference. So she's trying to say, oh, this obstacle today is this, is that, because it's more of I can deal with this. I can handle it, where I feel like sometimes it's like we all feel stressed all the time.
Right.
So anyway, so that was like one of the words I'm saying that we took the word stress and we changed it to obstacle, and that's been a game changer for her and us, like when we're talking about stuff.
Right. It can be all in the delivery too, right? When you're having a conversation even with your kids, we can talk to them one way and we'll get a different reaction than speaking to them another way. Like, we can say, you haven't done your homework. I'm sick of this. Blah, blah, blah. Or we can say, hey, listen, the work has to be done no matter what. So let's get it done. Let's get it finished. Yeah. You can do it. It's just the delivery on it. I had a client share with me the other day that he's like, I don't like authority. And I'm like, well, why not? And he's like, because when they demand something of me, then I get defiant. But if they change the delivery of it and they ask me how, ask me to do it in a different way, then I don't get defiant and I just move on and I do it and it's not a big deal. But I don't like authority. So, we all have reasons why we don't like authority, right? But that's not the topic, but it's the deliverance. It's how you deliver the conversation. How we speak to our partner. I remember in a day that I wasn't always very nice to mine. And now it's so different because now in conversation, one, I don't talk to him like I used to. But now it's like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking the trash out. When I would be like, that's your job, dude. Why aren't you doing it? You know what I mean? And I would get...
Yeah, in the past, like...
Yeah, in the past, I'd be like, this is your job. I mean...
When you were...
Go ahead.
When you were younger, like... Well, I mean, you guys have been together 31 years, but when you were younger, where you're starting out, you had certain expectations. You're like, just do it. Like, that's your job. What do you mean I need to thank you for taking out the garbage? Like,
and he thanks me for dinner every night. He'll say, oh, that was good. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. But it was a growing process for us to get there, but it is in the deliverance because I hear so often from people, I don't feel appreciated in my relationship. I don't feel appreciated in my marriage. I don't feel appreciated at work. Now, by trade, I'm a chef. If anybody went to culinary school, you know how nice those chefs are not. Right? And I was a late person going. I was old. I was 38 when I went to culinary school. So I was old. But majority of the people that were in my class were older too. But those chefs don't have any kind of mercy on you at all. And I used to always say, when I get out of here, I'm not going to treat anybody below me. And some of the kids that used to work for me at the B&B, they were like, Chef, why aren't you behaving that way? And I'm like, why? Because I ask you to do it instead of demand it from you and scream in your face that you messed it up. You messed it up. All right. It's a learning process. Let's do it over. So it's all in the delivery. It's how we handle it, how we go about it, and the appreciation that comes behind it. Right? Because if we feel appreciated, we are better in the relationship, no matter what it is: work, marriage, dating, kids, parents.
Well, exactly. So, and like you said, it's in the delivery. I know my kids often get on me, even just for the tone. My kids are like, but it's the tone. It's the tone. And I'm trying to keep everything, keep it together because I really want to be like, I'm like, if you could just finish it right now, that would be great. And I'm still, but they can hear my tone. So, you know what I mean? So sometimes I'm like, I'm walking away, I'm going to breathe, and then I'm going to come back and talk to you.
Right.
And it's funny, but like the first time I say it nice, the second time I say it okay, the third time I say it annoyed, by the fourth and the fifth time, pretty much yelling, screaming, acting like a lunatic. And it's and I know it's dumb after the fact, but it's like learning those things. I've conditioned my kids that, okay, the first and second time is okay. The third time is when they know I get annoyed. And by the fourth time, they better have it done. But it's so stupid. And I said to them, I said, why does mommy have to get to this point for you to hear me? And they're like, I don't know.
Well, it's one, it's a kid thing because they don't want to do it. Two, what they're doing is more important than what we're calling them out to do.
Yes.
So that's the kind of thing. But then after you lose your mind and they finally do it, I found with my boys, it was like, thanks for doing it. See how easy it was? You took the trash out or you put your laundry away. Your room looks nicer. Everything looks better. Don't you feel better? Because I do.
Yeah.
And they just look at me like, what? But then they'll say, yeah, Ma, it does look better. And Nick being a kid that couldn't go to sleep with clutter, it made him crazy. That's why he wasn't sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to hear that part.
No, that's all Matt.
It was just mom complaining.
Mom complained. Well, that's Maddie. Maddie can't go to bed if her room's crazy. It like we got home. We were away this week, and we got home, and now her sister's room looks like I think somebody robbed it, and they went through every drawer and like. And then Maddie's room had like 3 or 4 things, and she's like, "Look, Mom, I made a path." She like had 2 things over this way, like a little path.
Right.
I'm like, okay, but most of the time she'll put everything in her closet and shut the door just so her room's clean. And this is like, I can clean up my closet later, but she can't have the mess, or she can't sleep, she can't function.
Right.
So and her sister could walk over. Lundy can just walk over the piles and be like, "Okay, I'm getting into bed now. Don't really go." And out. And like Maddie is like, everything has to be perfect. Oh, I can get into bed now. No. But like the other one, just like, oh, I don't care. I'll do with it tomorrow. Like, just like move on.
Right. Like my grandma used to say, you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. And it's kind of the same thing, right? In the delivery, if we are appreciative and if we thank afterwards, or we just change our tone or change the way we say it. Mm-hmm. It changes the outcome.
It does. And like I said, but also words have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, like, just changing that word. I was at a bar a couple weeks ago, and we're trying to get through. We're waiting for the other my other friends to come, and we're standing and where I was standing, this woman kept saying to him, just stop saying that, just stop. And I literally leaned into her and I said, why don't we use a positive and say, let's move forward from this? And I said, maybe we'll have a better outcome if you say it in a positive way. And she looked at me, she goes, thanks. And she looked right at me, she goes, let's move forward from this. And because it stopped that. She must have said stop like 3 times. I wanted to go, no, you stop. Like, you stop saying that. Like, you're driving me crazy. Like, she was driving me nuts. And I'm not even part of her conversation, but I'm standing there waiting. I'm like, just stop saying that. Just stop. And I'm like, and I just leaned in and said, maybe you could just say, let's move forward from this. Or, and she's like, oh, that's good. And I don't know why we went to our table and had dinner, but those little things make a difference.
Right.
Because they're not focused on the big stop sign in front of you. You're now looking, at the future, or you're looking ahead. You're looking, makes a difference.
Also, like when we have those, which I teach, why I went to culinary school, because I was healing from an autoimmune disease, and then I found out what worked for me, and I had to find out why and how to cook for it, and then the science behind the whole thing, where I became a coach on top of it. So I found in learning all of this that when we do have an autoimmune disease, so many times we call it our own, or I'm not feeling good today, my lupus is acting up, or my rheumatoid arthritis, or Jimmy's just a fresh little boy. It's almost like you're speaking that over somebody, or you're speaking and taking ownership. So how is Jeffrey going to grow up? I was always the fresh little boy, right? So if we just change it in the sense where, yeah, I have rheumatoid arthritis, but I live through it. It doesn't have me, right? Or Jeffrey's just active. Or, instead of saying, my grandmother used to say, speak life over somebody instead of speaking negativity. So would we continue to call, and I was guilty of this. I used to call Nick my crazy kid. He was crazy. But I used to call him that. And then after a while.
I'm sorry. He was?
He still is.
Yes, he is.
But, I try not to call him that. Do you know what I mean? I try to change it, because it's all in, like you said, in the delivery of it. Because if I continue to say that about him, he just does more off the wall things, right? He's living up to what I'm calling him. Or the sickness beats you up more. Instead of, my lupus is me today. I'm not feeling well today. I'm having a flare up. But don't call it your own, because then you lose your identity in that. And instead of
see that.
Yeah. So, I always, when I work with my clients and stuff, and I'm like, don't own it because you lose your identity in it. And we can lose our identity in a lot of things, right? I remember, excuse my language because I'm going to cuss on here. I used to call my husband asshole. Like it was, after a while, he was like, that must be my name.
My new name is.
And he never called me a name. Like, who was I to call him names like that? Now you know why we almost got divorced. This horrible mouth, this mouth, right? But till I respected him, and then we started respecting each other, and here we are. And appreciating one another. Saying thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think
those little things that we're taught when we're like 2, please, thank you, no thank you. We kind of forget sometimes when we're older.
Well, we use that with everybody else. We use it with strangers, and we forget to use it with the people we talk with and deal with and around all the time. I have to get some more. I'll be right back. I'm getting more.
Okay. That's so true, though, that we do treat those people that we love. I think it's more because we assume that they're going to stay. Right? They're going to put up with it. Well, our kids kind of have no choice because they're with us until they go to college. Typically. Right? So, it's all in the delivery. It's all in the ask. It's all in the appreciation of it.
But like you were saying, like we talk to people with strangers, like we, when you're at a cashier, you're at the thing, you're at this, you're at that, you're like, oh, please and thank you, blah, 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 blah. But then when we're just doing it with my kids, I'm like, can you please pick that up? But no, but when I'm aggravated, I'm just like, clean up your room. No, please clean up your room. No, I'm like, just do it. Like, just do it. We forget those niceties. We forget those things because of, I don't know, the familiarity of it because, oh, they love us or that, you know what I mean? Or they're my kid, they're my husband, they're my family, they're my, they're my girlfriend, they're my boyfriend, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, you forget that they're human. They're, they have all the same. So it's important that you have that respect for them if you want the respect.
But isn't it funny when our kids answer us back or talk to us like that? We're like, don't you disrespect
me? I'm like, who do you think you're talking to?
That's right. You better get the attitude. Right. I used to say, put that attitude back in your pocket because I'm not dealing with it today. Mm-hmm. But at times I was like a walking attitude. Mm-hmm. And I think, not to make an excuse, but I think it's, we're tired. We expect, not to make an excuse, right? We're expecting, we have this idea of how things are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Whether it's in our mind or like the way we think. So obviously you're supposed to be thinking that way too.
Exactly.
Well, until we grow up and we figure out that's how life really is.
Well, and it's hard too because sometimes you could, like, you and Carm can finish each other's sentences. Like, what he's going to order. I mean, you've been together long enough. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things like that. So when those familiarities are there, the other stuff you just take advantage of, and it's like little things like that. But even just my new thing is when I don't want to use it, but the Karens in the world.
Sorry if there's any Karens out there. We're not making fun of you. We're just using the lingo of what people are calling Karens today.
One of my friends, one of my soccer moms, she her name's, I go, please don't tell me. She said, no, it really is Karen. And we're like, no, we're gonna call you Kay. She's like, yes, please call me Kay from now on. No longer Karen. I was like saying the letter K, but she's like, no, I'm just going by Kay now. I'm no longer using the word. My name is now Kay, not Karen.
Right.
So we were laughing. And the Bob's out there and all. But my new thing is, and y'all are welcome to use this anytime too. It's my new favorite thing to do to people. If they're like, well, I'm like, wow, great shoes. I really like your shoes. And everybody does the same thing. Everybody stops and looks down at their feet. So whatever the chaos is of that moment, everybody goes, like, they don't even know what shoes you have. I'm like, oh, look at those shoes. Aren't those great shoes? Anyone's shoes. Just talk about shoes. And your safety. Just be like, great shoes. And then they all go, what? Huh? What are you talking about shoes for? But it really breaks that.
And it changes it. Right? Mm-hmm. Changes the dynamic. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's my new thing. Like when people are being crazy or whatever, I'm like, nice shoes, great shoes, like your shoes. And it just totally, disarms them.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. Chris Wilson's on. He said, greetings, Kelly and Marina.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, that is a good one because 9 times out of 10, we don't remember what shoes we put on this morning.
No. But
I've gone to the office with one brown shoe on. 2 different shoes before. So if somebody said nice shoes, they're probably saying, oh, I really have to check because I've done that before where I've walked into work with 2 different shoes on.
My mother's done it more than once because she is not a shopper and I'm a shopper. And she's like, oh, if you're out and you find a pair of shoes, just get them in every color. You know what I mean? And back when she worked, I'm like, oh, I finally cute little, little brown loafers. Oh, they come in, brown, navy, and black. So I'd buy her all 3. And then she'd go and they all look so similar. I'm like, Mom, do you realize you have a navy and a black shoe on? She's like, I've been wearing that all day. I'm like, very trendy, very trendy.
Because Carmine and I work separate hours. So when I was working days, he was working nights. And I would try to get dressed and, get my stuff out in the dark. Well, I didn't put my shoes out at the same time as I put my clothes out and put them in the other room. And I'd go and grab my shoes and I was like, oh, these 2 look right. But I did notice that they didn't feel right when I walked. Like one heel was off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still went about my business, right? And
I know, you're like too busy. You're like, I'll deal with that later.
Not knowing when somebody said, do you see your shoes? I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. Shoes is a good deterrent.
That makes sense now.
Shoes is a good deterrent from breaking up the monotony of a, and it's interesting because I've watched a couple of videos where people, because everybody takes their camera out now and videos the Karens. Again, sorry, Karens. Yes. And this gentleman was like, you were mad at me, but you almost ran me over. I wasn't even doing anything wrong. He was at a gas pump. And this woman was like flipping a lid, going crazy. And he turned around and he's like, stop. Because you're not mad at me. You're mad at somebody else. Something else ticked you off this morning. And now you almost ran me over.
Yeah.
And now you're mad at somebody else, not me. So why is this happening? She finally just shut up and just looked at him. And I was like, that was perfect. Perfect. Because it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. No. But that's why I said, like, I know it sounds funny, but when you say to somebody, oh, I like your shirt or whatever, like you can kind of do, but when you say when you like your shoes, they literally, everybody stops and looks at them. Like everybody does. And then the person next to you is even looking at them because they're like, well, what kind of shoes? Like, what? So it's really a good way to disarm people.
Yeah. Perfect. That is a good way. Changing the delivery of how we even approach people, And it happens so often today. I think we kind of lost touch in a sense, with humanity in a sense where people are not even friendly. I hate going to a restaurant now. I was groomed in the culinary world, right? So wait staff is always the first line of defense. Typically, if you have a great waitress or waiter and your food isn't so great, they're going to come back because they had a great experience with wait staff. So they'll say, oh, chef must have been off tonight, or maybe they were short staffed in the back, whatever the case may be. But when they have a horrible wait staff and they have a great meal, 9 times out of 10, they won't come back.
Even if the meal is fantastic.
Even if the meal is fantastic, because wait staff is the first line of defense. So it's all on how you greet, how you approach, how you talk, how you have conversation with somebody. And I always used to say that to my staff. I'm like, you guys are, I hate to say it, but you guys are the first line of defense. Depending on your mood and how you treat them, they'll come back, regardless of how the meal tastes. Not saying that I was planning on giving them a crappy meal, but you know what I mean. If you're having a rush, we call it in the weeds. If you're in the weeds and everything's going upside down, but if the staff is happy and treats people kindly and doesn't get an attitude back to the customer, the experience at that restaurant or at that event is a lot nicer than if they just had their steak was a little overcooked. You know what I mean? It's a whole different atmosphere, and it's how you treat people. It's how you have it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
all in the delivery.
Yeah, and then I mean, like you were saying,
Dash is part of the show tonight.
Yes. He keeps sitting here looking at me. Well, I haven't been home all day, so he hasn't seen me all day. So he's like, he's staring at me. Hello, little dog. Hello. But the when you say that, it's funny. A friend of mine, like we went up to a shop up in Wilmington, and another friend went with their 2 daughters. And they're like, oh, there's someone friendly there. They totally judge you. They're looking you up and down and all. So, and they went on Saturday, and then we went on Sunday. And I don't know if they're same people, but usually, I mean, we've been there enough that we've seen the same kind of staff there, whatever. And it's funny, we're in there, and I'm like, oh, hi. I'm like, hi. I'm like, and my daughter had a few things on hold so that she could go try them on when I met her there. And they chatted with us. I'm like, oh, hi, thank you, and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, smile, and we go in the fitting room, we come out. I'm like, oh, they're like, do you need any help? They're like, do you any more this size? They're like, no, we don't think so. And then, anyway, long story short, when we went up to the register and we're chatting and they're looking for, she's like, oh, I want to get this bag. I'm like, oh, what kind of bag are you going to get? And she's showing it to her. She's like, oh, I have a trip to Florida. And then she showed us. And then my daughter's like, well, how do I know what stuff is on sale? They're like, here, look over here. This is where you find it. They're like, oh, we'll show you all the ins and outs. And they both they have like their phones out and they're showing, my daughter where the stuff is and all. And I'm laughing. I'm like, our other friends came up here, but they have more of an arrogance to them. And they've actually, the kids have gotten like kind of in trouble before about being kind of like above the better than the rest,
right?
But it's the way you present yourself. Not always, but a lot of times, like we opened up the conversation. She's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh," she's like, "What bag? Should I get the bag? I don't want to get the bag." And I'm like, "What bag are we talking about?" I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, here, look at this." Like they start showing us, and we, like we kind of led them in the direction we wanted them to go,
right?
Instead of them directing us what we want. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because you were, I think a lot of time, you were treating them like a human. You were treating them kindly. You were engaging in their conversation. You were engaging in them like they were there. Yeah. Some people walk into, like, I'll never go to a register to check out at the market if I am on my cell phone. 9 times out of 10, because you called me and I'm like, listen, I'm about to check out. I'll call you right back, because I feel like that's making that person at the register feel like they don't matter. Yeah. And I have literally watched people walk through the market on the phone the whole time, while those earpieces, so you think, they're talking away. And then they go to the register and they don't even acknowledge the person that's there. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, are you for real? And then when I get up there, I'm like, hey, I always look at their name tag. Hey, Mary, how are you? Or, how are you doing? How's your day going? How much longer do you have till you go home? I'm having conversation with them.
Over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're like, when you leave, they're like, thanks so much. Or can I help you pack bag? Like now they want to do more for you, but you're also acknowledging that they're there. And I think we lose touch with that and at times. So yeah. If Chris is still with us here on Podbean, if you have anything to add or you have any questions, please feel free to add them in the comments. We love to chat with everyone. I went to school with a Chris Wilson here in New York. Yeah.
I did not.
Excuse me?
I did not go to school with Chris Wilson.
I did. I went to school with the whole Wilson family. There was quite a few of them. So, and so I'm here, of course, in a hat, looking like craziness. Carmite says, you're actually going on like that? And I'm like, absolutely, because if I take this hair down, Lord only knows what it's going to look like. It's been up here like this since 6 o'clock this morning. And I've been everywhere. Today, and I had to check myself. Speaking on the delivery, I had to take my mother to the doctor today. And at first she was told that I couldn't go in. I had to sit in the car and wait for them to call me, and then they would speak to me from the car. And I'm like, come on, this whole COVID thing, come on. I'll put my mask on, whatever, and go in. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, my mom's got dementia. So whatever she tells my mom, 10 minutes after, my mom's going to be like, I don't know what she said. So I'm like, come on, so I was starting to get myself a little revved up there. So when I got...
Yeah, worked up.
So when I got on the phone with the doctor, I was going to share some words with her. And then when we got in there, the woman was like, no, she can come. Marina can come in. So my mom calls me out on the phone and she says, you can come in. I said, okay. Our appointment was at 3:00. We didn't see the doctor until 20 minutes to 4, and we didn't get out until 5:00. And most of it was just waiting. She came in she was training some other doctors, which I'm fine with that. ABC7 joined the room. Hello, ABC7. Welcome. I'm fine with that. I'm all for people being trained and all. So they had to consult after they saw my mom, and it was just waiting. And now my mom's back is bothering her. She's wants to go home. She wants to leave, the whole thing, right? And I was just about to get my, as they say here, the New York on.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I was just, I politely said, is this going to take much longer? Because my mom is just uncomfortable.
Done.
She's finished. She does have dementia. She does have back issues. We've been here over 2 hours. How much longer is this gonna go? How much longer do you think we'll need to be here? And if I had gone the route that I was gonna go, it probably wasn't gonna go very well. But I did. And she was accommodating. She was like, she said to my mom, I'm so sorry for making you wait. I understand you don't feel well. Because now my mom's pacing, because when my mom starts to get nervous, she starts to pace in the room. It's all part of the process, right? And she started to apologize, and she did get us out of there quickly. But if I had gotten ugly with her, and it didn't change my delivery, it wouldn't have ended the way it did, right? And she was very accommodating after I had asked her politely and nicely and all. So It's just, this is what I used to say to some of my clients. Just check yourself at the door. You got to check yourself. Before I say it that way, before I say this, check yourself. And think about it for a second. How is that going to be received? How is it going to go over?
Oh, that's what he said. That was one of the things I wanted to say. Well, there's a couple. The kids, my daughters and I were out, and we're going to get pizza, and they said buy the slice, so we order by the slice, but they really have to make a whole pie.
Right.
Anyway, so the girls go in. They're like, "Oh, it's still not ready." I'm like, "All right, give them another 10 minutes." They go in. It's still not ready, and I said, "Go next time you go in there, you tell them they can come out to the white minivan, and we'll be waiting there." So we're waiting, like another 10 minutes. So I go, when they come out here, I'm gonna rip them. I am so angry. Blah blah blah. This woman comes out and this the pizza boxes or whatever, and she hands us the pizza boxes, and I just looked at her and I'm like, "Oh, thank you. Have a nice evening. You know what I mean? Like, have a nice afternoon." Blah blah. And my kids are like, "Mom, you said you were going to yell at her, blah, 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 blah." And I looked at her. I was like, "Oh, geez, she's just barely keeping it all together." Like, she was so tired and exhausted. It just looked like she was beat up herself. I was like, well, I couldn't add to that. Like, what is the point?
Right.
And it was that simple.
So Chris messaged in, and he's saying that he's preoccupied with helping a recently adopted Aussie daughter from Perth who's visiting her 96-year-old Nana in Sydney. As a former military junior officer, I'm planning her daily itineraries and visits, incredible tourist attractions in spare time. She's having the time of her life. How awesome. I haven't adopted a younger brother. He's 20 years my younger. How awesome is that? And it does get overwhelming when you're trying to plan something for, especially having somebody younger and then being with a 96-year-old Nana. And it's so different, right? And it's such a blessing because my grandmother lived till she was 99. And my boys remember spending a lot of time with her. And she was quite the honorary Italian grandmother, right? She wasn't that little as people typically see a nonna, a little Italian nonna, how they look so sweet and innocent. Mine was not sweet and innocent. She was a wonderful woman, but she was a little tough. So the boys just remember her telling one story when she came to this country and, how she would whip them back into shape. Thanks for the hearts, Chris. Chris, you know what? We're so new at this. We don't even know how to do call-ins. We're just learning. But if once we know, then yes, because he said he's severely disabled Army vet. Are you here in the States or are you in Australia as well? Everything's so new to us. We are two fish out of water. We just are two great friends. Both lived in New York. And just to share it with you, Kelly moved to North Carolina. So we would talk to each other. She would be traveling with her daughters to soccer games or football, as they call it in England. Oh, he said, ladies, you just click on my icon that sends a sign in link to me. I accept the offer, thereby coming onto the panel. Please try it. You ready?
You're very kind. Good delivery.
That's right. Hold on 1 second. Let's see how we do this. So I just push. Okay. Oh, look what it does. Invite speaker. See, you learn something new every day. Invite speaker.
Amazingly, you you did accomplish it. How about that?
Thank you so much for teaching us that.
Well, I've only been on it for 2 years, but 1 year I was on for 10 months consecutive on darkoutpost.com. And then myself and then the other woman who was on about 1 month before me, Michelle Stefanik, The only reason you would know her, ladies, is because she was the chief financial officer of the Nairobi, Kenya embassy that blew up August 7th, 1998. That was by the CIA. She uncovered $14.6 trillion, which later turned into 42.1 trillion.
Wow.
They tried to take her out of life. But fortunately, she was being reassigned to Santiago, Chile as a foreign service officer. That's equal to a full colonel. And she was in Sudan. And the next day, the colonel that was allowing her to stay in a spare bedroom told her, Michelle, you need to pack your bags. We're going back. Your embassy's been blown up. They also blew up the
Wow.
Dar es Salaam, Tanzania embassy. This is all by the CIA. It's too complicated to explain, but I'm expert level. I've written over and forwarded and edited over 8,000 essays that have to do with everything you could possibly imagine in life. And it's
So
absolutely
you have your own show on here?
no. I'm on 5 international podcasts with my military buddy Raccoon. He's in Billings, Montana. I'm in Naples, Southwest Florida.
Oh, I
And
love Naples. Beautiful part of the state.
you've been there.
Beautiful. Yep.
All right. Well, you can move here because I'm moving to. I'm going to be bringing my uh, early 20-year-old daughter Gabrielle, and the names are very important. Do you know? Do you know the rarest blood type in the world? I do.
I thought it was in the O family, was it? Oh no, it's
Yeah,
B.
I said,
No.
no, B12.
Let me help you with this. There are 4 major blood types. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You have A is an alpha, B is in Bravo, AB alpha Bravo, and then you have O, which is Oscar. O is universal. It works for all the other 3 blood types, and also.
That's right.
However, there are 5 blood types, and you've never been taught the truths of life. The 5th blood type is R negative.
Oh, never heard of that. Not even.
You're not going to because it's Christ's bloodline. The family I adopted because I being such a superior analyst, her entire family going back 5 generations that I have traced are all R negative. She has 2 young, precious daughters. She had herself, her mother. She is Gabrielle, and Gabrielle is only one of the 3 archangels. I'm very good at history. He's
Right.
only one of the 3 archangels. You have Michael, you have Gabrielle, and you have Lucifer.
Right.
So the point is, she is either the embodiment of one or both of Christ's daughters. I have researched everything for over 35 years. The point is that Christ was married. He had 3 children, 2 daughters, 1 son. And the point is, I'm not here to debate it. I'm just telling the facts. And she is the embodiment of one of Christ's daughters. The Christ figure will be coming back in the not too distant future, which will shock the rest of this world.
I'm aware of that one. Yeah. I'm a believer. I believe that he's going to come back soon.
I know he is. I had a near-death experience when I was 20 years old. I was in a horrific car accident, and I broke the major bones of my body. And basically, my both legs were shattered. What is called commutative or commutative is where the femurs splintered. The right hip was sheared off. My right wrist was crushed. 5 ribs of the true and false ribs were fractured, and my mandible maxilla both were fractured badly. So I was basically pronounced dead. Anyway, they found a trace of a faint pulse in the morgue, and basically they brought me back up and monitored me for 3.5 years, 3.5 months rather. Excuse me.
Wow.
And what it is, ladies, is that anyone who goes through this traumatic experience, the Creator gives us, those people, a very small gift. My gift is foresight. That's an element of prophecy.
Right.
Wayne Herschel is also one of I know the top 100 alternative historians in the world. And Wayne Herschel is from Union of South Africa. He also had a near-death experience, an extensive one like me. And what he got from the Creator is ancient knowledge. All of his work is absolutely factual, completely. Do you know where the last location of Atlantis was? You
Why?
wouldn't.
No.
Okay. The last Atlantis, that's why it's never been found correctly. And he gets this information from our creator. Okay. And like I do, I get visions and what you would call messages. And the last location, if you know the Iberian Peninsula of Spain and Portugal, that is the last location of Atlantis. It was 500 kilometers out in the Atlantic. And what happened is due to an impact of a linear, not perpendicular, but linear meteor strike that hit Greenland, and there's trace of it all the way down the entire continent. It caused geomorphic collisions of basically massive earthquakes, tidal waves, volcanic activity, and what it shifted the landmass that happened throughout the world, but it shifted the landmass of Atlantis, which was Iberian Spain today, and it crashed into southern France. Everything that Plato said over 9,500 years ago, BC, was that basically it was absolutely accurate. It's just that we never conceived, he never measured the distance between southern France and Morocco. It was actually very large. And when that collapsed, that became the Iberian Peninsula, what we know today. Anyway, I wasn't here to bore you on that. All I'm telling you is that that is the last location because I grew up in the Netherlands in what you would call Holland. And
Right.
I went through high school there. My father's job moved overseas, and we were there for 4 years. I was there from 1969 to 1973. The greatest time of my life going through because I traveled all over. I played 6 varsity sports, and I was very good. But I was an enthusiast, not a jock. Anyway, so if you know anything about the Netherlands, they have a portion of the northern islands of the Netherlands, and it's called Friesland. And the Dutch can never understand them.
Chris,
Yes.
we have to wrap it up because our sessions are only supposed to be a short period of time.
Okay, fair enough. I wasn't here to carry on. I was just telling you the last locations of the two from Atlantis are the Basque in between Spain and Portugal, Spain and France, the Pyrenees Mountains, and the other is the Friesland. They're known as the France. They originally came from Greece 4,300 years ago. Anyway, I'll end it on that. I was just going to say hi to you ladies and let you know that basically we have a lot of things in store for us. Things are going to go bad, they get worse before they get better. But the most important thing is spirituality. Keep, not religion, spirituality. Keep your faith, be positive, and look to the future. Okay?
We will. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate you.
All right. Over and out.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. All right, so that was good. He was also thinking positive about everything. So that's like another person who says it's the same thing. It's just wording and how we
deliver it, right? How we share.
How we deliver it. Yeah,
how we share and how
exactly.
it's received, right?
Yep.
So thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. Chris, we appreciate you teaching us, one, how to invite somebody else in. And new technology tonight. We thank you so much for that. And we thank you for your insight and all your information. We really appreciate you. And thanks all that's been here with us. And we hope to see you again on Wednesday. And we're here at 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays and Fridays. Take care and be blessed. Good night.
Good night.